Hello, this is Arch Woodside again, and the course here is fuzzy set qualitative comparative analysis, fsQCA, lesson 5. And I'm a retired professor at Boston College, and it's good to see you again. And I promise this lesson is the shortest of all the lessons. And this is the lesson 5 ends the first block of instruction. The second block is for intermediary students and colleagues, and that's also 5 lessons. And then the third block is advanced topics in fsQCA. And it's good to see you again. Let's get started on our topic today. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you, and now we're going to go into what we want to talk about, and that's complexity theory. It sounds something that could be confusing, but it's really not. The point of this lesson is that complexity theory tenets are the foundation for fsQCA, and the whole idea of shifting from variable directional relationships, or VDR, which is actually bad science practice. And the reason I talk about it is because it dominates research. It's pervasive in articles in the leading journals. You see it all the time. And the basic statement is that increasing X increases Y, or decreasing X decreases Y. And we can do much better than this in the behavioral sciences. We can actually look at case outcomes, and that's what fsQCA is all about. And so let me put on the PowerPoint full screens here. And this should be about 10 minutes. So I say that, so that means it will be about 12 or 13 minutes, I think. I'm going to mention 5 tenets with you today of complexity theory. And the first tenet is insufficiency, and that refers to the idea that high X condition, it could be quality, product quality, or any topic you want to talk about, such as marriage. You're looking for somebody to marry, and you want them to have a certain condition. Say, for example, they're a good cook, and or whatever. And it may be a necessary condition, but the condition alone is insufficient. Typically, to get high accuracy in predicting or identifying high scores in Y. And so what does it take to get accuracy in predicting an outcome? And the correct answer is an additional tenet of complexity theory. It takes one or more complex antecedent conditions to predict Y accurately. The second tenet is equifinality, meaning that there's more than one model that will work if a given configuration of a few complex conditions won't predict all the cases that have high Y. It takes more than one model to predict high Y, typically. So, and that's called equifinality. The guy who first stressed this is Carl Wick, W-E-I-C-K, out of management. And it's a very good idea here, that it takes 2 or 3, 4, 5 conditions to accurately predict the cases with high Y. And remember, we're talking about cases. Cases that have, for example, X and Y, both of them together, indicate the cases that are high in Y. So you need to put the word cases in your statements when you write up your theory, and you're doing discrete outcome modeling. And it also could be that the negation of X predicts high Y when it's combined with a different condition instead of RT. You have, and then combine here you got a situation where high X predicts high Y and low X predicts high Y. That can be found when you have the combinations of different additional conditions in your statement. The plus sign here in this complex double statement represents or, not and, but or. And when you use Boolean algebra, the plus is or. So either one of these, and the cases might overlap here between for these two statements. Okay, so that relates to the third tenet, and that is that reversals occur. You could have high X predicting high Y, and you could have low X predicting high Y. So it's naive to say, for example, do men or women have more accidents, vehicle accidents on the road? Sure, you might have a positive relationship that men have more accidents than women, or it could be the reverse. But the real point is what configurations that include the female and what configurations that include the male are accurate in predicting accidents on the road. And that's a more sophisticated statement. So both high X and low X associate with Y, and it's not always so that you have to have high X to get to high Y. And both high X and low X associate with low Y. So you actually have four corners found. If you look at an XY plot, you're going to have some cases in all four corners. So we would like to be able to move to modeling all four corners in a set of relationship. Think of COVID, for example, and think of the vaccine that prevents COVID. Some anti-vaccine people would like to say that the vaccine actually causes COVID, and that's not been supported by empirically, but that's the idea that sometimes, and for a number of studies, you'll have both high X and low X predicting high Y, and high X and low X predicting low Y. So, and there's a statement to this effect of high X predicting high Y, low X predicting high Y, high X predicting low Y, and low X predicting low Y. And so we would put them all together to state that they, for example, predict low Y or high Y. And I didn't show high Y down here too. All right, the fourth tenet is that model construction and testing using symmetrical theory and methods are bad science practices. And the problem with that is that causal symmetry actually is found in real life. There's very few relationships that are symmetrical. So we want to learn to think asymmetrically. And then the final tenet is the emerging system effects occur in crafting configurations of simple conditions are greater than the sum of the simple conditions. So let me give you an example for something called core self-evaluation in theory. And this is a theory that comes out of human resources and as a subfield of management studies. And the theory is that if you're high in all four of these variables and conditions of self-esteem, you're high in self-esteem. But if you, I'm sorry, and core self-evaluations, one of them is self-esteem. Secondly is self-efficacy, that you can do things well. The third is locus of control, that you feel you're in control of your environment and situation. And then fourth, emotional stability, that you're a stable person. And say you had two different cases here, where case one is a person who on a 7-point scale scores themselves, because this is core self-evaluation, scores himself as a 6 on self-esteem, a 6 on generalized self-efficacy, and a 6 on locus of control, and a 1 on emotional stability. They think they're rather an unstable person. And so that score sums to 19. If you sum them, you're trying to have a measure of core self-evaluation for these four traits. And then you have case two, another person, and this person scores a 5 on self-esteem, a 5 on generalized self-efficacy, and a 5 on locus of control, and a 3 on emotional stability. And that sums a little lower than the first person, the first case. And so if you did a study where you, to get the score for the each person, that you sum them across the items, or in this case across the traits, it would look like the case one would have a higher core self-evaluation, CSE, core self-evaluation, than person two. But if you multiply their scores for case one, 6 times 6 times 6 times 1 would be 216. But the second person, if you multiply 5 times 5 times 5 times 3, is 375. And this goes in with the, for example, the ninja warrior type of operation, that you have to have a passing grade, and say a passing grade would be a 3, at least a 3 among these four traits. And so it actually makes more sense in when you're getting ready to calibrate, that you actually multiply the items for a given trait. Oftentimes, when a study is done, there's 4 or 5 or 6 items that are measured for a given trait, and those items are summed. And I'm suggesting to you, don't do that, because that doesn't spread out the cases sufficiently. And also you can have a misguided understanding of someone who scores moderately high on everything versus someone else that has a poor score on one trait and good scores on the other traits. So be careful in looking at data. And the more you look at data and the more you practice with it, you develop a lot more insight. So it's going to take, I hate to say this, but it's going to take a few years for you to get a really deep feeling for be able to get information out of data. But I do want to say it's been really good being with you for the first 5 lessons, and that ends the lessons for the tenderfoots. And now we go to the intermediate stage for beginning with lesson 6. I hope to see you at lesson 6. Take care and keep in touch. Bye now.